Ever feel like you're trying to figure out political talk, especially during a campaign? Like, how do you know what's real and what's just, pure strategy?
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? Discerning authenticity from a carefully planned message.
Exactly. Well, for today's deep dive, we're jumping into that fascinating, sometimes confusing world of Dutch politics. We've got insights from a YouTube transcript from NPO Radio 1. It's called Yeşilgöz laat nu het toen asses helse job voor politicus om iets meer gaan te komen mediaforum.
Quite a title. Hell's Job, Hellish Job, gives you a sense of the pressure.
It really does. So our mission today is to unpack this whole dance of political messaging. You know, how leaders change their style, how the media keeps watch, and importantly, what it all means for you trying to stay informed.
We'll look at some specific examples, politicians in really tough spots, and how accountability sometimes shows up in, well, unexpected ways.
Okay, so what's the first thing that jumps out from this source material?
Well, it really frames the current climate quite starkly. It calls it a hellish job for a politician trying to pull themselves out of a sort of decline, especially during campaign time.
A decline, yeah.
Right. It's not just about winning, it's about recovering from a slump, which really forces these strategic adjustments we're going to talk about. It sets the stage for some very calculated moves.
Okay, let's start with Dylan Yeşilgöz, the VVD leader. That's the Liberal Conservative Party, a major player.
Right.
She made an appearance recently that got a lot of attention. NRC, the newspaper, called her strikingly mild.
Mild. For her, that is striking.
Yeah, during a debate that apparently fizzled less than usual, which is quite a change from her maybe sharper style we've seen before.
It absolutely is. And the analysis in the source suggests this wasn't just, a mood swing.
Yeah.
No, the thinking is she actually practiced at home.
Practice being mild.
Yeah, practice staying calm, avoiding anger, and importantly, not framing Franz Timmermans, the Labor Green Left leader, as like the worst thing for the country. There was even this observation that she seemed to literally count to 10 when she got interrupted.
Wow.
Which is described as remarkable. A politician actively trying not to get driven crazy in the moment. It suggests, a lot of self-control. Or maybe just good coaching.
So why the big change? What's driving this?
Well, connected to the VVD situation, the source says they're doing poorly in the polls.
Ah, okay.
So this mildness is seen as a deliberate strategy. A kind of virtual reorientation is how the source puts it.
Because the old way wasn't working.
Seems like it. Her past harsh remarks were apparently not well received. People thought they were too short-sighted, maybe not well thought out. And it ended up pushing some voters away.
So it's a strategic pivot, adapting not just the words, but the whole persona.
Exactly. And that raises the big question, doesn't it? Credibility. Is this shift believable? And how long can she keep it up?
Good point. Does the source compare it to anything?
Yeah, interestingly, it brings up Geert Wilder's mild tone in a previous campaign. Some people thought that helped him win.
Right, I remember that.
But the expert in this source found Yeşilgöz change a bit. Difficult to buy completely. They said they prefer seeing people as they really are. Don't like it when politicians pretend to be something other than what they are.
That tension between strategy and authenticity. So when you see a leader making such a calculated shift, changing how they talk, what does that signal to you, the voter?
Yeah, what does it make you think about their motives?
Yeah.
Or the pressure they're under?
And the pressure is definitely on Yeşilgöz. The source mentions speculation about her leadership. Apparently, if the VVD polls drop below 6 seats, which means under 20 total by late October, like the 29th or 30th, it could become very difficult for her to stay on as leader. That's intense.
It really is. Talk about high stakes. And this leads to another potential strategic move. Maurice de Hond, the pollster.
Oh, yeah, de Hond.
He predicted Yeşilgöz might soon rule out cooperating with PvdA and GroenLinks, the Labor and Green Left parties.
Within 2 weeks, the source said. Why would she do that?
Well, the thinking, according to the source, is maybe to steal seats from the CDA, the Christian Democrats.
Show up the right-leaning vote.
Exactly. Attract voters who don't want any coalition involving the left. It's a move towards a harder line, potentially.
But is that the right move now?
Well, there's a counter-argument in the source, too, that the general feeling, the tendency in the country is that the extreme approach is kind of over.
Because it brings nothing in.
Right. Because it doesn't lead to solutions. So it's a gamble,
Yeah.
a real strategic choice with big potential upsides and downsides.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about Geert Wilders again. You mentioned his past mild tone. But the source says his current approach now, leading the PVV, is very different. He was in a coalition, made compromises.
Yeah, but decided this won't work.
Right. So he tightened the screws, and now he's going full out again. And his poll numbers are apparently rising.
That's what the source indicates, yes. A return to a more confrontational style seems to be resonating, at least with his base.
And what's the analysis of his strategy? Is it about policy?
Interestingly, the source observes that Wilder's policy is not aimed at realizing something. It's more that his tone is aimed at inciting problems.
Inciting problems.
Yes, stirring things up, leaving the actual solving them to others. It's a different political function, you could say. More about channeling frustration than offering detailed plans.
And that brings us to a specific, pretty dramatic incident.
Right, the fact-check situation.
During a debate, Wilder said something incorrect and very sensitive. He claimed a suspect in the murder of a teenager, Lise from Opkud, had recently been released.
Which was just factually wrong.
Yeah.
A terrible mistake to make, especially about something so tragic.
And then the really unusual thing happened.
The police stepped in?
Yeah, the police live fact-checked him. They put out a statement on social media saying his claim was false.
Think about that. The police correcting a member of parliament during a debate, in public, in real time. That's unprecedented, really.
It raises huge questions, doesn't it, about political speech, accuracy, the role of institutions?
Absolutely. What are the boundaries here?
And what was Wilder's reaction? Did he double down?
Actually, no. Which was also surprising. He admitted it was a mistake. Said, I should not have said that.
Just like that.
Yeah. He claimed he, thought he had read it, but it turned out not to be true. A pretty direct retraction.
That is unusual. Politicians often try to
spin it. Exactly. The source noted how surprising it was to hear him take back his words so easily. Usually there's some qualification or blame shifting.
So what does this incident tell us beyond the surprise?
Well, it throws a spotlight on a parliamentarian's responsibility to truly delve into the matter, as the source puts it, especially on sensitive subjects. You can't just throw things out there.
There needs to be some level of accuracy, right?
You'd hope so. It impacts public trust, people's lives.
And the source raised another critical point. Why the police? Why didn't the government correct him right there in the chamber? The prime minister, maybe?
Yeah, that's a key question. The source suggests that by not correcting him, the government enormously abandoned the police, left them to clean up the factual mess in a political arena.
What did the police themselves say about why they did it?
Their explanation was pretty straightforward. They were alerted, checked the facts, and posted because facts are important, especially in sensitive cases where the family's interest is great.
So protecting the facts and the next of kin.
Right. And they also said they greatly appreciated Wilder's retracting his statement immediately, which smoothed things over a bit, I suppose.
But even with this fact check, this mistake, the source suggests his overall approach. It still works for him.
Apparently so. The analysis is that this whole cycle, the provocative statement, maybe even the retraction, suits him very well. And his voters apparently too. His core strategy remains effective.
Wow. So what does that mean for public discussion when facts get corrected, sometimes by outside groups, but it doesn't necessarily dent a politician's appeal? How does that affect your trust?
It's a huge challenge for how we understand political accountability today.
Okay, both these cases. Yeşilgöz changing her tone, Wilder's getting fact-checked. They bring us to this word that apparently kept popping up in the debate.
Yes. Responsibility.
It was everywhere, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Politicians saying, take our responsibility, not run away from responsibility. The cabinet will take its own responsibility, like a mantra.
It really stood out. And the expert in the source had a pretty sharp take on this.
What was that?
That, well, taking responsibility is, oddly enough, the task of politicians and government officials.
Right. It's not extra credit.
Exactly. It's the job description. If you're not prepared to take responsibility, you shouldn't be there. So constantly declaring you're going to do it. It sounds a bit hollow, maybe performative.
That makes sense. There was also a comment from Caroline Vanderplas, leader of the Farmer Citizen Movement, about how saying let's look forward doesn't help much when the tent has burned to the ground.
Right. And the sources expert kind of agreed, saying, sure, looking forward is logical, but at this point in the cycle, it's really about accountability.
Accountability for what happened before.
Yes, and even settling scores, as they put it, figuring out who's accountable for the past, especially with that October deadline hanging over Yeşilgöz. It's about reckoning. not just future plans.
So has responsibility just become the latest political buzzword? You know, like jumping over your own shadow was a few elections ago?
It certainly feels that way sometimes. The expert in the source expressed a hope, really, that politicians would just go and do what they were put there for.
Which is.
Solve problems and provide accountability, not just talk about taking responsibility for potentially doing those things later.
So when you hear politicians using that word responsibility, what should you be looking for? How do you judge if it's real? Or just, talk?
That's the critical listening skill, isn't it? Matching the words to actual actions and outcomes.
Well, this has been quite the journey through these political dynamics. We've seen the calculated shifts in tone, the struggle for authenticity,
The really unusual role of fact-checking, even by police.
and this whole question about what responsibility truly means in politics today, or if it's just become, well, noise. It shows how complex that political communication puzzle really is.
It really does.
Yeah.
And it leaves us with a bigger thought, perhaps. In this age where political messages are so carefully crafted, where personas can shift overnight, and where even external bodies are correcting politicians,
Yeah.
what new ways do we as citizens need to demand accountability? How do we make sure the focus stays on actually solving problems, not just winning the messaging game? How do we keep truth central?
That's a really important question for all of us to think about. A great point to end on. We definitely encourage you to keep doing your own deep dives, looking closely at the language, the strategies, everything that shapes how we see politics.
Keep asking those questions.
Exactly. Until next time.